A lot of people get worried about asbestos. Asbestos is only a danger when it's a dust in the atmosphere. The greatest advice for anybody if they found asbestos is leave it alone. There was some real numpty was involved in the development of smart meters, and unfortunately that was me.
You to blame. We communicated lang twang.
Yes.
Is that a particular penchant of yours as well, keeping the dialect alive? Or is it just something to wind people up, would you say?
Well, no, I think it's something we should do.
Banter is the word, I think, isn't it, really, Barry?
Dross, I would have thought, was a better word.
Welcome to Tommyfield Live, a chance to meet. Let's join the audience now, live from our radio theatre stage.
I couldn't even hear the music then. Good morning one and all. Welcome, dear listener and dear viewer if you're watching on our mixcloud, because we're all high tech these days, it's all multimedia. It's Saturday lunchtime, the 30th of March. There's something we've got to do tonight. Oh, that's right, put the clocks forward. Mustn't forget to do that, so make sure you remember that bit. But before of all that, it's Tommyfield Live, as it usually is on Saturday lunchtime. It's Ian Wolstenholme here, welcoming you along for another 1 hour of lively banter, it says here, and an eclectic mix of music, it also says here. And all of that is going to be provided by our very special guest today, making a return visit, His Worshipful Master of Oldham, Barry Cassidy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Try not to bore you too much.
Barry, it's always a pleasure to welcome you. How many times have you been now in Oldham Community Radio as a guest? I couldn't remember. I was trying to count. 5. It just seems like more than that.
By your mistakes,
no, we keep asking you back, don't we? But there's well, there is a reason. Before we, you know me, I always make a comment about your attire, because again, for people on the radio, they will not be able to see, but Mixcloud listeners will. But for our listeners, you are resplendent in your usual suit, shirt and tie. A rather sombre mood this morning, isn't it, Barry? And we must, without further ado, really, mention the very, very sad event in the borough. I'm sure people will know of the death of the Mayoress of Oldham, Afshin. Yeah. Which we have sent our condolences to the Civic Party, including Dr. Zahid Chauhan, the Mayor of Oldham. We have a kind of an affinity with the Mayor's parlour, one way or another, don't we, Barry?
Indeed we do. Most of us been on the Mayor's Charity Field.
Yes, and you're the chairman of that august body.
Yeah, and both of us were railroaded into it.
Yes.
Me by somebody else, and you by me.
That's right. It has this knock-on effect, doesn't it? Really, yeah. But the Mayor's Charity Committee does an awful lot of good work, and it's been a little bit different this year, because rather than the incumbent mayor choosing a handful of charities and then funds raised throughout the year being disseminated amongst those charities at the end of the term, this year it's been a little bit different with I keep saying Make-A-Wish, I'm always getting it wrong. You know what I'm trying to...
Yeah, Truly Wished.
Yeah. The Truly Wished fund that was set up. That was right back at the start of the Mayor's tenure. And then we learned, obviously, what has happened this week, the culmination of his term so far. Very, very sad. And how has that impacted, do you think, Barry, on the Truly Wished fund? The fact that the Mayor had to kind of take almost a step back.
Well, he very, very cleverly set the fund up and got Action Together involved and the Mayor's Committee. So pretty much we've been involved very much in doing things. The Mayor obviously has had to step back on occasions, but no, it's gone wonderfully well. In fact, life being such a coincidence, there's a delightful young woman over there who said, we've got some money for the Truly Wish Fund, and I'm going to collect that at a later stage.
Well, that's excellent. So, well, apart from anything else, we always like to try and find out something a bit about Barry, because whilst you've been here, as you say, a handful of times before, there's always something lurking in the cloisters, so to speak. You've just come back from holiday for one thing, haven't you? You are looking somewhat... How did you describe yourself?
Swarthy.
Swarthy lad.
Aye.
Yes.
And
Does
I
that mean
did
sunburned?
Aye. I bought a watch specialist so you could tell I've got swarthiness about me.
You've got the white strap.
I've got the white strap,
yeah. As long as it's on your wrist and not anywhere else.
That's right.
So where did you get to?
Get to Benalmádena in southern Spain.
Do you go there often?
I certainly do.
Oh,
yeah.
good, yes.
And I'm booked to go back in May as well.
And you speak fluent Spanish as well, don't you?
Sí, porque no.
Man of many talents. Some of those we're going to speak about today, of course. But as we ask all our guests to come along armed with a collection of musical bits and pieces that maybe mean something, and we've got your list, Barry, all set up in the system. The first track that you've asked is Amapola. Yeah. Amapola.
Which indeed is Spanish.
Indeed it is, yeah. And this is sung by...
Tito Skipa,
Skipa,
who was Pavarotti's favourite singer. So, not a bad recommendation, that one.
It's a good tune, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Let's have a little listen right now. Absolutely beautiful. Tito Skipa, Amapola. We were saying, Barry, we were having this conversation before, weren't we, before you joined us on the radio theatre stage this morning. There are certain people that you don't immediately think can sort of transpose the musical sphere, if you like. One of the most, and it was you that told me this, I learned something new today, one of the most underrated sopranos who could have gone on to great operatic success, Gracie Fields.
Absolutely.
And yet, as we said, it's sing as we go.
Well, yeah, and I was prompted to think about this by something that was on Oldham Community Radio not so long ago, and she sang Ave Maria.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it moved in, yes.
It's moved me just now.
There are certain things that creep up on this station that do sort of stop you in your tracks, so to speak. Tito Skipa, wonderful. Now, it's all sort of languages today, because I noticed the first couple of tracks are kind of Italian or have an Italian flavour to them. You've just come back from Spain. You sent me an email, Barry, last week I think it was, I've got it here, which says, I'm fair looking forward to waggling me tonsils and have been digging out me tunes. I has eclectical taste in music, so I might start with yeah blah 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 blah. And I is toying with the idea of singing the most romantic lyrics ever written. Now, that's kind of a little like we have this joke, don't we, between us when we communicate in lanky twang.
Yes.
Is that a particular penchant of yours as well, like keeping the dialect alive? Or is it just something to wind people up, would you say?
Well, no, I think it's something we should do. I was in Altrincham the other day, and the gentleman said, "Oh, haven't you got a strange accent?" And I said, "I don't have an accent. You have."
Touche. Yeah.
Now, would you like me to sing the most romantic?
Well, as we've mentioned it, is it sort of something that we need to get done and dusted out of the way?
Yes, I think we should do.
Okay.
All the most romantic lyrics you've ever heard. Strangely enough, this one is by Gracie Fields.
Oh.
If I may assault your ears thus.
Please do.
Walter, Walter, lead me to the altar, and I'll show you where I'm tattooed. If that isn't romantic, I don't know what is. See, you're stunned now, aren't you?
I wasn't expecting that. You didn't tell me what to expect, but yeah, it was quite short and pithy.
Well, that
I think you should do a reprise just in case anybody's still reeling from the shock, like me, while I get my next question. Do it again. It was quite good, that, Mary.
Walter, Walter, lead me to the altar, and I'll show you where I'm tattooed.
I think that deserves a round of applause. I don't know why, but it just... it's rather like we were saying again, you know, some of these phrases and things like that can get lost in the mists of time. I think it was me auntie, wasn't it, or somebody like that said, "Oh, I've been down to the cemetery and it's been desiccated by vandals," you know, and things like that.
You can't trust them vandals, can you not?
We need to keep the Lancashire
Like
language.
my dear late mother-in-law, when she said she passed a building and it looked to her, it looked mostly dilapidated, which is far better than the real word.
We're going to talk about your proper job, because I think in the past we've done all things about your charity work, because yes, chair of the Mayor's Charity Committee, also chairman of the Anglo-West Indian Society Club, just a club. And so you do an awful lot, Barry. But you have a proper job as well.
I have, yeah.
And I imagine I don't know if you're normally dressed so dapper to do your proper job, or are you?
Depends which bit.
Now tell us, before we hear your next track, just tease us, and we'll talk a little bit more.
Okay, I started off in my working life as a labourer in the cotton mill. Ring Mill, it's still there. Unfortunately, the cotton bit isn't. They now stock trainers. So it shows you how times have changed. I then went into the asbestos textile industry. I started in 1969, largest asbestos factory in the world. I've since gained my qualifications in surveying, so I do asbestos surveying. I also do energy management, and 5 years in the largest asbestos factory in the world, then went into energy management. And depending on which bit I'm doing, if I'm doing an asbestos survey, normally I'd be wearing a boiler suit, and then I have my little flower graders outfit on, complete with a mask. Yeah. But if it's an energy management job, I'd normally wear a proper suit.
I mean, I suppose when people hear that word asbestos, they sort of recoil a little bit in fear and trepidation, for obvious reasons, because at one time it was just there, like a lot of things. Now it's something to be treated really, really seriously because of its long-term effects, of course.
Yeah, a lot of people get worried about asbestos. Asbestos is only a danger when it's a dust in the atmosphere. You could eat asbestos. I wouldn't suggest you did it, but it wouldn't do you much damage.
Really?
So the greatest advice for anybody if they found asbestos is leave it alone.
Yeah.
But I've known people try and spend a fortune on it. There was a company, in fact, a property in Manchester, where I did an asbestos survey, and I found asbestos in a massive amount of the building. And I was then asked, how much would it cost to shift it? So I said, £250,000. You'll be shut for 3 weeks. Your customers will go somewhere else. You'll have to pay the staff. By the way, why don't I put a scheme in place for you? So we did it. It was £900. We marked up all the walls with asbestos stickers, proper stickers. We put a barrier a yard back. And so I said, which scheme did you want to go for? So in other words, we just left it alone. We let people know it was there. We properly managed it. And the idea was, it was safe. It was there, but nobody's going to touch it. Nothing's going to happen to it. So that's what we do with asbestos.
Well, I feel a lot better. I shall sleep soundly tonight, Barry.
Don't mess with it. Although your older listeners like me will probably remember the days when your mum had an ironing board and she put her iron on a thing.
Yes, a pad thing.
On a pad, which was always asbestos and always flaking.
Oh, crikey, my auntie had one of those, my auntie May.
Everybody had one.
Blimey. Oh.
And I don't know what we did with them. We probably just chucked them on tape.
God, this is good. Mapari. I'm not just showing off, because that's the only bit of Italian I know, apart from pepperoni pizza. But Mapari. Flotto. Why?
Because it's a fantastic tune. This is somebody that most people have heard of. It's Beniamino Gili, and he's going to sing opera in a different way. Tito Schipa was an opera singer, but he went into the popular music as well. But Gili will sing a proper operatic aria.
Okay, well, here is Mapari. Oh, it's a catchy little tune. Welcome back to Saturday lunchtime here on Oldham Community Radio, 99.7 FM, DAB, DAB. It's like bingo, isn't it, when those DAB are things. On your device, if you've got what's the device? Anybody can tell me what the device is. And online, of course. Mixcloud. Oh, do you know, it's like a cookery programme. Our guest on the radio theatre stage is Barry Cassidy with some Banter is the word, I think, isn't it, really, Barry?
Dross, I would have thought, was a better word.
We've been all very classical for your first couple of pieces of music. Just to let listeners know what's coming up, we've got a little bit of Nat King Cole. We've also got a bit of Elvis later on, but that's for later, so we'll just save that for the moment. We were talking before the break, Barry, and I think you mentioned energy management amongst the asbestos scare.
Aye.
And the myth that you dispelled there. I'm wondering if this comes into it, because I've had a couple of texts recently, most recently on Wednesday to lunchtime, and it said, I'm reading it now, it said, "Hello, this is British Gas. We'll be contacting you shortly to arrange the installation of a new smart meter.
Aye.
Once installed, you'll have access to and it goes on about how much money I can save." I don't want a smart meter. I don't want anybody to tell me I've got to have a smart meter. Is this the kind of thing you're involved in, or?
Well, before we went on air, I was telling you that there was some real numpty was involved in the development of smart meters, and unfortunately that was me.
You to blame.
Because when the energy market opened up to anybody who could supply, rather than Norweb or Manweb or whoever you were close to, they decided, well, how are we going to meter this? We can't send a man round on a bike if we are, in the north of Scotland and we've got a customer in Brighton. We can't send a man on a bike to go and read it physically. So what we'll do is we'll put some metering in that we can access remotely. I have a British Gas smart meter for both my gas and electricity, and neither of the damn things work. They did originally, so the whole thing falls down. One thing that they don't tell you with a smart metering, it has one purpose and one purpose only. If you don't pay your bill, they can cut you off remotely.
Oh.
They don't tell you that. So the idea is, you think, oh well, they're very great for sending information and getting billing, but I still have to read mine once a month because the damn things don't work. If I could recount you a story, a client of mine bought a factory in Rochdale last year, moved in, and then got a bill for £60,000
Wow.
from the smart meter. Now, I'm not very technical, but I knew that it couldn't possibly be true, because the previous year the police had found a cannabis farm in the property, so they'd taken an axe to the cable, so it wasn't actually connected. So where the 60 grand bill came from, and it took me 2 months of wrangling, and I had to call on the managing director of the company, who I know personally, to say, can you get your lads to sort this out? So when Joe Public rings up with a query, perish the thought that anybody would know what the level of service was, because generally speaking, the people that you were talking to know less about the problems than you do. And like I said, I've only been doing this since 1974. It's getting worse. I find people who are paying for the wrong meter, paying the wrong readings. So I implore people, the very first thing you do when you get an electricity or gas bill, just go and see if the meter on the wall is the one that's on the bill. Because if it isn't, you're paying for somebody else. I get at least one person a month where they're paying for somebody else in the commercial sector, yeah. So you just never know in the domestic sector. But that's the first thing to do. And my watchword when somebody has a question for me is, I'll come and have a look. And I travel the length and breadth of the country looking at things. I was in a place in Stockport the other week, and I was watching the electricity meter going around, and it was recording on the night rate. It was 12 o'clock dinner time. So I thought, something's not right here. So that's the basic thing. I've done jobs for people where they've said, we've had the graphical output from this meter, it's shown me how much we use every half hour. Right, and I've looked at it and said, well, I don't know what that is, but it's not you. Yeah, but we have a graph every month to tell us. So I go down and have a look. Unfortunately, the meter on the wall is not the one that's on this document. Oh, so it's the very first thing. Any problems?
You see, I mean, there's something with these kind of utilities. Again, it might be rose-tinted glasses, but you just presume that they know what they're doing, and especially with gas and electricity, it's kind of an essential, warm, comforting thing that we're surrounded by all the time. You just assume that these things are right, but I've never even thought to check that it's the right MPAN number or whatever it's called.
No, it's just the meter you want to look at. In the old days, if you had a problem in Oldham, you used to ring somebody on Union Street at Norweb offices, and a bloke called Frank would answer. And if he didn't know the answer, the bloke across the way would, he'd know the answer, because they actually grew up with the industry. What happened when privatisation came in, a lot of the people with knowledge, i.e. them were on big money, got shut of, and little computer literate people came in who might have been selling tins of beans but didn't understand energy. So when you've got a problem, they don't understand what your problem is. Whereas Frank and Stanley would have done.
This is fascinating. We're going to talk about this a little bit more after your next choice of music, Barry, which is I love this one, and I think it was one of my dad's favourites. A bit of Nat King Cole, and he could hold a tune. Mona Lisa. I said that it's far too short as a piece of music, really, and yet it's 2 minutes 41. But if you listen, it seems much shorter.
I love music. You've seen me have an eclectic taste in opera and things like that. Nat King Cole has the best voice I've ever heard.
Yeah, I would have to whatever the word is, concur with that. Let's just listen. Thanks, Barry.
Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa,
The applause. Nat King Cole singing live there. Mona Lisa, of
Absolutely.
course. One of many great hits by, as you say, a wonderful singer. So I was quite surprised a little while ago when I remember here, I can't remember exactly how many, but there's an awful lot of solar panels on the roof of this very building where we are now, on Tommyfield Indoor Market. They're all there. You can see them when you drive along Lord Street and St Mary's Way. Now, obviously, the market, as we all know, including ourselves here, will be repurposed, shall we put it like that, in the fullness of time.
Got shut of, you
Got shut of. You could say that. And I wonder what's going to happen to these solar panels. I understand that they're going to be taken off and transplanted onto the new market and event centre down at the old TJ Hughes site. So, energy efficiency and things like that.
Aye.
Energy efficiency. Is it all it's cracked up to be, Barry? Again, answer that question by all means, but just maybe think about the recent Oldham Green Summit that took place and all the new installations of these wonderful new technologies, heat pumps and solar panels and things like that are being retrofitted into a lot of our housing stock. Are we going to experience problems long term, do you think?
I think there's a lot of hype involved in both solar energy and the use of heat pumps. Usually what happens is, particular heat pumps, when they first come out, they're wonderful things, and then people start to find snags in them. No doubt, when they're properly installed and properly maintained, they're a damn good idea. So is solar. But solar power is not much cop unless you've got battery storage, because they do have disadvantages. When it goes dark, they don't work. So if you don't store up your excess energy during the day into a battery, what are you going to do? I did an installation in Cornwall, which was 5 megawatt, and it was on the end of a very iffy piece of string network, and the idea was that took a massive amount of energy. It generated a massive amount of energy, but not much cop during the night. So it was backed up by battery storage. Fantastic scheme. And I know Oldham are looking at schemes like that. Wonderful thing.
So, at Oldham Community Radio, we have quite a few listeners who are of that age where they look to organisations like ourselves and others in the community to give them real practical advice and useful hints and tips and things like that. So if I was listening to this now at home and thinking, I'm pretty good at keeping an eye on the bills and things like that, your advice would be just to really check and be careful and look.
Just to make sure that you're being billed for what you're using. So in other words, check the meters. The other thing is lots and lots of people heat up rooms they don't need to, or to temperatures they don't need to. I'm not saying you should have a house that's damp, but I always say to people, look, if you're going to have your house there, you don't have to light every room. You don't have to heat every room. Just use what you need when you need it. Obviously, if you like commercial properties, sometimes they leave the lights on all night. If it's an area where you've got burglars and what have you, it might be an anti-deterrent, but if you don't need them, don't use them.
I'm looking on my phone now. I'm hoping it's going to come on. It doesn't appear to be. I don't know why. Something. It might do or it might not. If it well, we'll let it. It's technology's frozen. Let me just try it one more go. Phil, I'll just keep talking and
hit it with your shoe.
Give Phil kittens. Yeah. Oh, it's doing something. Hang on. Yeah, is it? No, it isn't. Anyway, it's the British Gas app. The British Gas app is not working, clearly, at the moment. But I only look at that because there was something that when I did check at that earlier in the week, it said, you do not need to send us a meter reading.
Right.
Now, I haven't got a smart meter, because they're going to install one, apparently. Whether I'll be in or not's another matter. But anyway, so it said, you do not need to send your meter reading by the 30th of March. You are already on tariff XYZ. We know what you're using. Well, that's a bit one-sided, I feel, after this conversation. We know what you're using. Well, I'm sure you do, but I want to know what I'm using as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bit of a caveat emptor, as me.
Yes, let the buyer beware.
Buyer beware. Now, we're going back to a little bit of Hohira type music now. Maria Callas. Now, there's a name.
If you're not moved by this aria, you want locking up.
Oh. Did you often sit in the Cassidy mansion late at night with a glass of Beaujolais Nouveau or whatever and sort of blub at some of these wonderful melodies, Barry?
I can blub without the
without the aid of the Beaujolais.
The thing is, the Gilles before got me. This next one most certainly will.
So introduce it. This is from
it's from Norma by Bellini.
Norma by Bellini, isn't it? Yeah. My script doesn't tell me.
Casta diva.
Right.
Which means chaste goddess. I don't mean chaste as in
run after. No, all right.
As in,
as padlock.
Yes, padlock, untouched.
Right. So it's Maria Callas.
Yes.
We'll just listen to this. Thank you. Just coming up, it's 12:47 in new money because my digital clock tells me that. But is that nearly 10 to 1? That's close enough.
Something like that, isn't it?
30th of March. Welcome back to Tommyfield Live here on Oldham Community Radio. I hope you're enjoying the programme today with our special guest on the radio theatre stage, Barry Cassidy. He who has so many strings to his bow, it's untrue. As we've said, chair of Oldham, the Mayor's Oldham Charity, Mayor of Oldham's, get my words out, Charity Committee. That's it. There's an interesting eclectic mix of people that come along to that, isn't it, Barry? Has it kind of changed? Because you've been in it from day one.
We've got one or two nutters, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Including me and you.
Including me and me, yeah. But, I mean, it's good to get a lot of the youngsters that I've noticed coming along now, aren't they?
We are indeed, and we're getting younger and younger people involved. The Youth Council very kindly got some members coming along there. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Oldham's future's built on youngsters. As opposed to oldsters.
We've seen so many examples of that here on Oldham Community Radio recently, where we've had people in from Blue Coat School, these young ambassadors, young business leaders. I was at something down at the library earlier this week, again from Blue Coat School and St Anne's Academy, where they've done a project on creating stories and things like that. There's so much talent in the town. It is. We should maybe just mention, because we're coming up to that time in the next few weeks, when it's the Oldham Beer Festival.
Aye. Proper news.
Breaking news. Now, we can't advertise or we can't advocate, drinking things like that, but there's a reason why we go along with our outside broadcast equipment and do this programme from the Beer Festival, which we will be doing in a few weeks' time.
What an excuse.
It's a good excuse, yes. But it does raise a not inconsiderable amount of money.
Absolutely,
for charity,
it does.
Doesn't it?
It does. And we encourage people to come along to that. to drink in moderation. So there's beer, wines,
Yes,
ciders.
There's all sorts.
Ciders, food.
Oh,
Food, nourishing hot food as well.
that's right. Yes,
And
it's
bon ami.
bon ami.
You can buy bon ami at the door.
You're very multilingual, aren't you? Really.
Well, I'm bisexual in French.
Well, on that note, right now we've been talking about energy and efficiency and people being aware of the kind of pitfalls. By the way, my app still won't work, but we should say that other energy supplies are available. You mentioned that, and quite right.
Other energy supplies are available to be rubbish. Yes,
But
They're
from
not
your
all.
experience, vast as it is, it's not a particularly pretty picture, is it, right across the board?
No, it's not. There are some, and I won't name them, but there are some who are hopeless beyond belief. Some of whom are just don't believe in logic. You know, like if you cut through a cable, you can't possibly use electricity.
So we hopefully we haven't worried people too much by some of the things we've been talking about today. But if people do have concerns, we've said, look, keep an eye on the simple things that you're able to without putting yourself, don't start sticking your fingers in electric meters and things like that, just look at the numbers. But if people do have genuine concerns, they can seek your advice, can't they, Barry?
Absolutely that, yeah.
I suspect probably the best way for them to do that is to contact us with any concerns here at Oldham Community Radio.
Yeah,
We can pass them on to you, of course.
And there will be, my mate's rates will apply of nout.
Mate rates of nout.
Aye.
Well, that is incredibly generous offer. Your time alone is worth something, Barry, and I know that you'll be hopefully coming along to maybe do a little bit of a phone-in on something like this, because I suspect,
Yeah, by all means.
rather like earlier this week on our Thursday edition of Oldham Today, we had a couple of guests in from the local care sector, and I can't believe the number of comments on our social media feed that's generated about what is quite an emotive sector. So I suspect the same thing will be true of this, so we'll keep an eye on that. Crikey, look at the time. You wear it well. Not your suit, Barry, but that's Rod Stewart. Why Rod Stewart?
Why not? I have the widest possible taste in music. All I wanted to put something up to date on.
Okay.
Not all,
Simple as that.
As simple as that. The thing is, it's a good tune. It grabs you just as much as the Maria Callas or Gilles. The thing is, it's an emotive thing. You just get involved in it.
Here's Rod. It's such a shame that we faded Sir Rod there, but it's always the same, isn't it? The clock this hour comes so fast and goes equally fast as well.
You keep gabbing.
Well, I don't think I've done too much today. We've had a lot of useful information. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Barry for being our guest yet again, and it just goes to prove the point that you'll have to come back a sixth time.
Well, I think you deserve me.
I think we deserve you too, Barry. Thank you very much for being our guest on Chance to Meet Tommyfield Live today.
A delight. An
Ladies-
absolute delight, wasn't I?
You were. Ladies and gentlemen, Barry Cassidy, thank you very much. And we've got a bit of Elvis to take us up to the 1 o'clock news. Joining us then, after that, will be Howard and Friends with the request programme. Suspicious Minds. Out of all the catalogue, there's got to be a reason.
Some brilliant singers that I've mentioned. This bloke was the best handler of a song.
Right, a handler of songs.
Yep.
I could think of no better way to say thank you for joining us once again, Barry. Thank you to Phil Edmonds. Where did that come from? Phil Edmonds, our technical producer this morning on Tommyfield Live from here, Wolstenholme. Have a great day. Keep well, keep safe. Bye for now.